Marnie,
Hi.
it's hot.
It is hot. We're having a heat stroke in Melbourne, and I was in Adelaide over the weekend, and it wasn't much better there. So I just feel like I'm drowning in constant heat.
Correct. Now, we've installed a fan. Marnie's worried about her hair blowing all over the place.
I literally just did it before I got here, and it'll be ruined within the hour and a half that we are recording.
But we have to prioritise our safety right now. And that means we need to keep the fan on.
Okay. I personally would prefer to prioritise my hair, but that's okay. I'll sacrifice one for the team.
You are a warrior.
I am. What can I say?
You're a warrior.
I'm a true hero.
Now, we've added a little piece in the video here. I'm going to point at like a streamer does.
Cam Pedersen.
Cam Pedersen's on the wall, guys. Will
He's
we rotate
us
every week? Maybe we will. But it doesn't get much bigger than Cam Pedersen.
I know. I just feel like the podcast experience has been elevated with him being in the room. So,
yeah, exactly the same set. Look, there's not too much room to vary this set. Not that it needs it anyway, but we've got the banding room, we've got the scarf, and now we've got Cam Pedersen in here with us.
CP.
Now, what are we going to do today, Marnie?
We're going to go through our pick for the... I can't even talk.
It's very robotic. What are we going to do today? No, you take the day off and I'll do it.
I've had no sleep for 3 days, guys. I've become a soccer girl and I was in Adelaide for the Melbourne victory and I'm running on very little sleep, but I'm here. I'm a trooper. No, hold on. Let me try again. We are here today to talk about our starting 23 for the round one clash against the Giants. I can't believe footy's almost back.
Well, footy is back. But our footy is almost back.
Our footy just didn't feel the same without North Melbourne, without a North Melbourne blockbuster
it doesn't feel the same
year.
without North playing in Darwin or something for round one.
I know, against
like
an
an irrelevant franchise.
Team.
Oh, like a top 4 team. Okay.
Well,
Same. Well,
we got both this year.
It's very exciting stuff. Like every podcast in the world that covers a football team is going to do their predicted 23 for the first game.
For those who haven't listened, we a few weeks ago gave our best 23 for the year. So it's actually, when I was doing my starting team for this coming weekend, it was I think 3/4 of my best team has changed, be it form or injuries or suspensions or whatever.
Yeah, no, mine is a lot different, and I always keep tabs on whatever team at the point in time is my favourite team and what I would pick. But I've also got, obviously, with spoiler alert, Simpkins not playing.
Really?
Well, I didn't want to break it to you this early.
I had no
Marty.
idea.
Yeah, no, I wanted. This was your live reaction I was after, and we got it. That's good content. It's changed a lot since what I thought our best team was after some of the really good and really bad pre-seasons from certain individuals, which we can debate and talk about.
Yes. I don't know how much debate we'll have this week.
Yeah, you say that, and then you always end up yelling at me over Paul Curtis. So,
True.
We'll see.
I'll shut up.
Yes, that would be nice. Now, Marnie, I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
Now, something has been slidden across my desk.
Look out.
Well, 2 weeks ago, a very special contributor to the podcast, your favourite and the crowd's favourite, Gobshites Anonymous, who loves to give us content and takes the valuable time out of his day to make this show better.
Okay.
Now, he's sent in a song for the Further North podcast.
Okay.
Which is about falling in love at a Further North live podcast.
Okay.
Are you excited? What are you feeling and what are you thinking right now?
I don't really know what to expect.
Okay. I'm going to play the song.
Okay.
And we're going to play all 2 minutes of the song because the effort here is unbelievable.
Okay.
Listen to the lyrics very, very closely. I'm going to get the lyrics up on the screen for you, Marnie, so you can read along.
Okay.
Try not to read ahead too much. Just read along with the lyrics.
Okay.
And I think this is just going to be the best time we've ever had. After that, we're going to get into picking our 23 guys. But this is of top priority.
So nervous.
Okay?
Okay.
Here we go. I'm going to play the song.
Okay.
Not much ahead, but it's a good kick into the corridor. Turner played it nicely, got it to Simpkin. Free kick advantage. Inside
it's a very nice brooding intro too.
Run into the open goal.
Here we go. Follow along the lyrics.
Well, I thought true love was too late. breakfast Sunday we ate. First thing that I said to her, I got a feeling this year it's top 8. So I bought 2 tickets to North Beach 302 today.
Great purchase.
'Cause one that we can't drop.
No.
'Cause we on the state of WA.
Chorus done. Ooh, build up.
I found love.
Ooh, that hits.
You found love. We all found love at Live North Pod. So let's grab a glove. Not a Simpkin glove.
Not a Simpkin glove.
'Cause I'm further north and it's starting to throb. But that's love. Shimbona love. North Melbourne love. And it's starting to throb.
For one of their great wins, hold on. Hold on. We're having a discussion.
We need Marnie's live reaction here. I'm so excited.
Kick went straight to the boundary.
I don't know what to say. I don't really know what to
Just
say.
say whatever comes to your mind and heart right now.
I really don't know.
Now, let's point out a couple of key lines here. Well, I thought that true love was too late. She was wearing a North jumper, Kane Turner 28.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
This is fictional. Like, this didn't actually happen, did it?
No, I'm assuming this is exactly what happened. I'm assuming this would have happened at the live podcast at some point.
Oh my God, we're matchmakers and we didn't even know it.
Well, that's the power of the Further North podcast, Marnie.
For those who are watching, I'm really sorry. I was just trying really hard to to read along with the lyrics so I could process everything.
Yeah.
I'm probably still processing it a little bit, to be honest. Very good. I enjoyed it.
Look, I can imagine Bay 29, we all sing, and I found love, you found love, we all found love at a live North pod. Let's grab a glove, not a Simpkin glove, because I'm further north and it's starting to throb.
But does that make sense?
Of course it makes sense.
Okay, explain it to me.
Which bit?
That whole okay, they found love at
The
the further
live North pod.
But then what does the Simpkin glove have to do with it?
It's just lyricism, mate. This is art at its finest and top degree.
Okay, I do really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it.
The Simpkin glove is symbolising love sliding over the top of us
I
and
think
grabbing
I
on,
just
you know?
don't I don't get it.
It's a song. What do you mean you don't get
But
it?
aren't songs meant to have meaning?
He found love at a Further North live pod.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad someone did. I don't think I think my reaction's probably a bit underwhelming. I don't know what you expected, but I don't know if this was it.
I really enjoyed it. So,
I did enjoy it. I'm sorry. I'm just a bit yeah. I wasn't expecting that.
you know what I think is happening right now, Marnie? I think you've been rendered speechless.
That is so rare.
And this,
Marnie
being,
for me.
if you guys have listened to any pod Marnie's ever done, when Marnie's speechless, which doesn't happen, it's a moment that we all need to cherish, and I'm glad that we've captured this in video and audio form.
I feel like you're just trying to look for ways to stop me from talking.
Yeah.
So you're just throwing anything you've got at me.
Sometimes I need a break, Marnie. And,
All right, I'll just piss off then.
and what a better way to have a
I'll leave
break.
you to the rest of the show.
Well, what a better way than falling in love at a North pod. It's a Simpkin glove, not,
I think
just
that's
any
awesome. I think it's so cool that someone wrote us a song.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sending that in.
See,
and
now
now that I've processed it.
Now, exactly what I was about to say. Now she's processed it. It's now sinking in.
That someone's actually written a song.
Written a song
and
for
gone
the
to the effort to
podcast.
record it and send it in to us. That is so lovely. Thank you
Correct.
so much for writing and sending that in. It's a beautiful ballad. Maybe when I walk down the aisle, that'll be when I walk down the aisle.
Well, I
too.
was thinking, do we start a petition to get the club song changed?
Ooh. I do love a bit of join in the chorus though.
Yes, but I feel like new era, we need a new song.
Okay.
And I think this song could be it.
this as long as we can end it out with a kanga.
We play the okay, let's not get rid of joining the chorus.
Okay.
Let's play this when the team walks out.
Yeah,
like
okay.
Stand By Me for the victory.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You Never Walk Alone
Yeah.
for Liverpool. You
Yeah.
know. I think
Never tear us apart.
Yep, I think that this is
Okay.
what we have to do.
Yeah, done. I'll call the club this week.
Marnie's going to call the club. Thank you to Gobshites Anonymous for doing that for us. And hopefully we can get this over the line to be able to sing that when we walk out at Marvel Stadium.
Josh and I will chair that.
Correct.
That
No,
part.
absolutely.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
It was fantastic.
That's a great surprise.
Speaking of voice messages, I'm just going to remind everybody that we are getting you guys to send in your voice messages to react to the game. So as an example, after the GWS game, furthernorthpod@gmail.com, you can send in your voice notes to that. 10 to 15 seconds, a reaction that you have from the game, and I will play the best ones on the podcast.
We love hearing from you guys.
Yeah.
So definitely send us your best reactions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing's too rogue. I mean, I'm one
No,
of the co-hosts of this show, so
Well, that is true. Sometimes more rogue, the better. Not rogue that it's like a minute long, because I won't play it because we don't have time to sit here. But
true emotion. We want it all.
yeah, I want you to tell me who you loved, who you hated. Tell me your gut feeling. Say the AFL's corrupt and everything sucks. I just want raw emotion at the end of
Any Hugh
it.
Greenwood slander will not be tolerated on this podcast.
Well, Marnie can filter some of those. But yeah, don't forget, voice notes, please send them in because I want you guys to be a part of the podcast as much as you can. We'll do questions on Instagram and that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, I really want to get the voice messages involved this year. Just trying to get you guys involved more. So we have TikTok now as well.
We do have TikTok now after me begging Josh for months, let me make a TikTok. He
Well,
finally let me make a TikTok.
I did.
Surprise, it's Further North Pod.
Yeah, what a surprise. Very strange handle. It definitely is the same handle as the Instagram and the what else do we have? Facebook.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Oh yeah, forget the Twitters.
And then you've also got our email.
Yeah, furthernorthpod@gmail.com.
Speaking to Josh over the weekend, I made the TikTok and he was like, oh, like, what's the handle? And I was like, oh, it's We Love Hugh Greenwood. As if he would not think it's just Further North Pod. So he's just like, if that's actually the handle.
Yeah, I wasn't happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that to you.
Or you would do that.
Actually, no, I wouldn't do that to you.
That's what I was going to say.
That's true.
Anyway, follow us and all that stuff. Engage with the podcast as much as you can. Because
YouTube as well. Hey, YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube's doing very well. And if you don't know already, we are on YouTube and you can see our lovely faces. You can see Marnie's reaction to that song and see her facial expressions, which not even she's watched back yet. So
no.
I'll watch that back later and we'll see. You'll see the overall joy that she got from that.
Let's go. Top team?
Top team?
Top team.
Team. Let's do our best 23. We're the coach. We're picking the 23 for this game. Are we just going to do back six, middle six, front six, and then the followers and bench?
Yeah, let's just... The same way we did our best 23, let's do our round one team. Also, I apologise. I have my phone here, but it's not my house, so... I've got a bit less to work with.
Very
than Josh's
unsocial,
fancy
Marnie.
setup over here.
Well, they can't see that. We're meant to pretend this isn't here, Marnie, so they think I'm doing this off the cuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's go the back six. Okay. Do you want to go first or want me to go first?
You go first.
My back six.
Okay, hit me.
Josh Goda.
Yep.
Cal Dawson. Biggie Newen, a big
Yep.
one. Mm-hmm. Harry Sheasel. Aiden Core. And Zach Fisher.
Okay.
That is my back six. Now you go yours.
I've got Dawson, Core, and Goda.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got Fisher, Comben, McKercher.
Interesting. So I left Charlie out just because of fitness. So it was hard to pick. Obviously, Core and Comben, I think, would be my preferred two keys.
Yep.
The only reason I'm picking Aiden Core, even though I think he's underdone, is because he's got the experience.
Okay.
He's a more experienced defender. He's part of the leadership group. And I think with an incredibly young defence, we need a little bit of leadership and stability. Mm-hmm. I would love Charlie Comben to play this game.
Yep.
And I hope next week he's back in and plays every game for the season. But the only reason I've left Chom out is because I think he's a little bit underdone, and I've picked Core because maybe just some leadership and some more experience in a very inexperienced backline.
That would have absolutely killed your soul.
No, I'm not completely off the Core train now. I'm not on the Core train, but I'm at the station like, do I buy a ticket?
Okay. He's almost on. He's almost on.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm buying that ticket yet.
Okay.
The first month of the season will determine.
I'll
that.
keep pushing you for that.
I'm sure you will.
So I picked Charlie Comben because I saw him last week. I was leaving Fashion Week and I just see this 6'6" man standing
Handsome
there.
man too.
And I look over and I'm just like, Charlie, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And so we hung out for a little bit in between shows and he told me that he is a chance to play round 1. Which is why I've put him in my team.
Well, that's inside knowledge. I did not know.
I put him in my team. So I really, really hope that.
By all reports, he's played very well in the 2. He looked pretty good in the half we watched when we went to the St Kilda game.
Yeah.
And reading the little match reports, and look, I'm sure they talk all the guys up in the match reports a little bit. They're not going to be like, Chum was rubbish, are they? But
no,
all reports
that's our
are he would never be rubbish.
No, but you know what I mean.
You know, they're always going to talk all the players up a little bit to make us excited. But all reports, he did play quite well.
Yeah,
clunking
so
some marks.
Look, I mean, that's why I put him in there. I also wasn't sure initially if he would play round 1 or not, but having spoken to him, I hope that he does, and that's why I've put him in there. If he didn't play, I would put Biggie in there instead.
Yes.
So just want to flag that is what I would do. However, given that I had that conversation with him and, you know, that sort of thing, I've gone.
And that would be the change I would make too.
Yeah. So
other than that, have we got the same back 6? Who were the? I've got Sheasel and Fisher and Goda.
I've got McKercher, Fisher and Goda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to caveat that, I have McKercher on my bench.
Okay.
I think that's not going to spoil anything.
No. I think that's good.
I originally had McKercher in for like Biggie, but then when I looked at my back 6, I'm like, there's too many, attacking, small defenders. So I tried to go for a little bit of balance.
Yeah, that's fair.
McKercher absolutely could start on the ground. I don't think it really matters if you're on the bench or in the starting 18.
Yep.
But I put Biggie in there, and let's talk a little bit Biggie over Pink.
Yeah, so we both agreed after watching the Pracky against St Kilda that we would both have Biggie over Pink at
I think this is very
stage.
controversial because I feel like most fans that I've heard from would pick Pink over Biggie.
I think
so. Explain the
difference,
rationale.
Well, I just think the difference, and we spoke about this last week on the show. I think the difference between Biggie's game and Pink's game last week is I think both of them played really well, but I think that Pink had a probably more consistent 4 quarters, whereas I think Biggie was probably a little bit quiet in the first half and then really shone in the second half.
Yeah.
I can understand the logic putting Pink in there over Biggie because they're obviously different kind of players.
And I wouldn't be mad if that was the way around. Like, this was incredibly difficult for me.
Yeah.
Was the Pink or Biggie thing. It has to be one or the other. Obviously, you can't play both.
No.
But I was... If I threw Pink in that team, I'd also be happy. I just want to caveat that before people go, why don't you like Toby Pink? Biggie sucks, blah, blah, blah. I like Biggie's interceptability.
Yeah.
I could see like a Goda pushing off half back. I also like Goda in that Luke McDonald role or that Jack Zeeble type role.
Yeah.
But I think, Dawson and Core, matching up on the forwards with Biggie floating across, I think is a better combination.
Pink's a really good one-on-one defender, but so is Aiden Core. And I think that with Core hopefully available and hopefully match fit. This obviously is all really dependent on that as well. Quite a few of the guys that we've got in there were in the seconds because of fitness. And I heard that Core maybe might have hurt himself in the practice game against the Sandringham side after
well, if that was the
Pracky.
case, then I would throw Combin in over Core.
So I just don't know it's a bit, I think the backline and injuries and availability is probably still a bit up in the air, but I did hear that during the week, so we might have to check up on that as well. But I think that Core is a really strong one-on-one defender, and I think if he is put in that, and we've spoken about Aiden Core, and we've spoken about how Aiden Core is better as the first or second defender rather than the third defender. I think he really steps up, and I really think he really takes ownership of that role when he's in it. When we played him, Logan McKay, in the same side last year, he probably just didn't look his best, and it was only when we lost Logue to injury where Core filled that role and he played his best footy and he did step up. So I think if you give him that role and you give him that responsibility, which in this backline he should because he's obviously the most experienced of the taller defenders, then I think he really should be able to step up. And that's why I'd have Biggie over Pink if Core's in the side. There's a lot of ifs and buts, but that's kind of my logic on that decision. But obviously I've put Charlie Comben in my side, so I've left Biggie out.
Yeah.
But if I would do the same thing as you if that wasn't the case.
My concern is actually opposite. I don't think Core's the best one-on-one defender, but I think against the Giants forward line, he will be able to play okay. I don't think they've got like a bully. You know what I mean? I don't see Jesse Hogan as a bully. They've got Toby Green down there and all that sort of stuff. But I think that back line with Core and Biggie are more, to me, like intercepting defenders. And Core, to me, can be a little bit of he almost plays like a running halfback a little bit who's, 194 centimetres or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't like the thought of Aiden Core one-on-one with somebody if it's just those two wrestling. But him in a pack and using his foot skill around the pack, I like. So I'm trying to go for a less of a one-on-one, playing one-on-one man-to-man team and more of a back six, which
more like a zone.
Like a zone or something like that. Because it did seem like there was less one-on-one footy in the preseason and more zone sort of stuff. I'm thinking to when Clarkson coached the Hawks, is Lake the best one-on-one defender? Was Josh Gibson the best defender? Not really, but he made a scheme of the back six working together to intercept and to crash packs and zone and sort of cut things off. And I think that's what we'll go for so we can play North ball and run off the back line.
Yeah.
That's the best team. I could also see, a Hogan muscling Core out of the way a little bit and kicking a bag, but I'm going with Core because of experience. But in the future, if he does get muscled out, then maybe take a Biggie out who's not a one-on-one defender but a good interceptor. His foot skills are questionable, but I'm going to back him in for a game. If we're going up against a Geelong, I probably would have chucked in a Pink or a Comben to combat the two brute forwards they've got.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With the GWS forward line, I thought, let's go run and gun. Let's go intercepting and zone because I don't think they're the strongest contested one-on-one marking team. So that was basically my logic.
That's a fair point, and I think we've spoken about this before, and I think it's sort of well known that this team is probably going to be a high attacking, high scored against side,
Correct.
as in North I'm talking about. So to have a little bit more of an attacking backline and to have a bit of run and carry probably makes sense as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
And did you have Sheasel in the back?
No, I did not have
Interesting.
Sheasel in the backline. He'll be featuring later in the side.
Shock, Marnie left Sheasel out of the 23 guys. No, she didn't.
No, I didn't.
I know, I'm joking. I'm just trying to tease.
Words in
it.
my mouth.
Just trying to tease. I haven't seen your full team yet. I'm not looking. So, okay. Let's go the midfield. Well, midfield 6. We'll go through the midfield line, then the ruck and the two rovers and everything.
Yep.
Should be pretty self-explanatory, and I would be shocked if you've got much more different to this. In different formats, of course.
Yep.
Bailey Scott on the right wing. I'm not on the Bailey Scott in defence train. Bailey Scott on the wing. LDU in the guts. Dylan Stevens on the left wing.
Yep.
My man, Helmet Jerry. I don't want Tristan Jerry in this game. I want Helmet Jerry in this game.
Yes, please.
George Wardlaw, my George Wardlaw.
Yeah.
And then I've got Will Phillips. Now, Will Phillips was originally going to miss out for Simpkin.
Yeah.
But with the Simpkin injury, I've put Phillips in the middle because I think we need someone. Wardlaw can get underneath. We know that, but I like him on the outside too. LDU, I think, is better on the outside than in and under.
Yep.
I want Phillips to be in there, dragging that ball out and getting it to those guys. Once again, I sort of went for system and scheme. And I think Phillips over a Powell in that midfield will complement LDU and Wardlaw better.
Phillips was really good against St Kilda as well, even though he only played a half.
Well, I thought, and I think we said this
2.5 quarters of footy.
Yeah, we said this in the last pod that it didn't look like he had a good game. I wasn't at the ground going, look at Phillips, another clearance. But when I got home and looked at the stats and I watched a bit of the replay, I was like, he actually played all right. He's like a quiet achiever in that team, and he did get the most clearances for the game. So, the stats alone, I'm giving him a chance and I'm throwing him in. But he, out of this team, is probably the one that would probably be the first to drop down because I wasn't mega impressed with his preseason, but I liked his performance in that game stats-wise, and if he can bring that, I think it complements LDU and Wardlaw well.
One thing with Phillips, and we'll stick on him for a second, then I'll give you my 6, is that I think Phillips is one of our best ball users.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
He's really clean. And
especially with his hands, and that's why I like him in that role.
Yeah, and he makes really good decisions, and I think that is something this team lacks so desperately.
Because I do think LDU and Wardlaw can butcher the ball a little bit. As amazing as they are, Chom did say Wardlaw's kicks are helicopters, so wear a helmet. And LDU, as classy as he is, I think the one thing that might let those guys down at this stage of their career is their execution of their kicking.
Yeah.
Phillips seems to have the opposite of that. He's maybe not as dominant in the contest, but once he gets the ball and gets it off the ground, he can feed it out pretty cleanly.
Yeah, so I think that I've said this to you a few times. I think we really have to persist with him this year.
I agree.
I don't think we did him any favours, and I think he's a confidence player. I think in and out of the team last year. Now, I agree with you. I don't think if Jai was playing round one, I don't think that I would. I don't know if I would have Phillips in the side, but he's just got to make the most of his opportunity.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Right, give me your 6.
My 6. So I've got Stevens on one wing. I've got Scott on the other wing. I've got Wardlaw. Bang on in the
they're
middle.
in the middle. It's the same thing.
And then my followers ruck, I've got Helmet Cherry in the ruck, and then I've got LDU and I've got Sheasel.
Sheasel in the middle.
I really want to see Sheasel in the middle.
Oh, look, I do too, and I was a massive component for this Sheasel sort of midfield/forward role.
Yeah.
With McKercher and Fisher and those guys. I think he looks too good off half back for me.
Well, I just think, I
love it though. Trust me. I want him to do that Dacos progression where he becomes just a midfielder and he's racking up 3 Brownlow votes every week, which I absolutely think he can. But geez, he looks good off that half back line. And I still think with our inexperience, we need a little bit of a crazy that our coolest head off the back line is 19 years old.
Yeah, seriously.
But I think he looks too good, but please explain.
No, I just think after watching Fisher's game, against St Kilda, I think that is, and I also think McKercher played really well, and I think they will persist with McKercher in that Harry Sheasel role this season. So I think that given how strong Fisher was, and then given my thought process of them doing with McKercher what they did with Harry last year, I just think throw him in the middle.
I don't disagree.
I think that Fisher will. After the way, again, I'm going to say it like a broken record. After the way he played against St Kilda, I like that he's got that dimension and he can be that swingman. We can throw him up forward if we need, but just he was so dominant and he was key in getting the ball out of the back line, out of defence against St Kilda. So for Fisher, I think he really needs to own it. I also think that Goda's game.
Yeah, very, very
was
good.
Excellent. And given that we won't be seeing Luke McDonald, I don't know for how long he'll be on the sidelines for it. And Goda, if he plays where he played against St Kilda, he could probably keep McDonald out of the side, to be honest. So given how strong both of their performances were on the weekend, and given that I think they'll keep McKercher in that same role that they had had Shees in last year, I think now's the time. Now's the time to throw Harry in there. As you just said, Josh, Wardlaw and LDU, while we absolutely love them to pieces, their disposal isn't the cleanest.
No.
And that's probably an area that they both need to work on. So having a Sheasel in there, who we know is an excellent user of the football, I think also could, be of benefit. And I think the other thing, which I think it's round one, so it's too early to be talking like this, but I don't think that there's any harm in matching up someone like Harry Sheasel in the midfield on like a Cornelio or a Tom Green and just letting him learn. I think that experience is so invaluable. So I think all of those things combined, all those things said, I'd love to just see him have a shot, just stick him in the midfield. We don't have Simpkin in there. Obviously, we won't be seeing Taron Thomas in there. So why not?
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. Okay. Forward 6.
Okay.
Here we go. So I've got half forward line. Once again, it doesn't really matter where these guys play. It's all forward 6. I've got Tom Powell, Cam Zurha, big game Dursey, Paul Curtis, Nick Larkey, Jaden Stevenson.
Okay.
What have you got? What's that laugh for?
No, nothing.
Okay.
I've got Zurha, Greenwood, Dersma.
Oh, of course.
And then I've got Stevenson, Larkey, Curtis.
Curtis has made it.
All
right, let me explain a little bit of mine, then we'll go to yours.
Okay.
So I've got Tom Powell playing in that Simpkin-esque role that he played on the weekend.
Yep.
Sort of half forward but pushes into the midfield, just like Sheasel half back sort of pushes into the midfield as well.
Yep.
I'm excited with Tom Powell's pre-season.
Yep.
I think he's been very, very good. There's obviously, Lazaro, Powell, Will Phillips, and those three are sort of battling it out a little bit.
Yep.
I would much rather Powell in that forward 6 than any of those other guys. I think he's the cleanest, probably kick at goal, and he's got the agility to make that work as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Zerha to me is Zerha and Dersma, I guess, would be the two backup key forwards, even though they're not probably, especially Dersma being so slight. And Zerha's played it before. You know, as we sort of know, CCJ, I was on the CCJ train for a long time, and I do believe there's talent there and potential, but I can't defend him after that preseason he had. It was an abomination. So, you know, I don't want a bloke who's dropping chess marks, uncontested chess marks in my forward line.
It's not good enough,
so
really.
We're going smaller in the forward line, so Zerha's sort of that second key. Dersma, I think he's done enough. I think he's exciting enough, and like we talked about in the last podcast we did with what we think is our best 23. I think we just play talent at this point. I'm just stick the talent in there and let them learn. Let them learn from day one.
Yep.
Jane Stevenson has done enough in the preseason, I think, to hold his spot.
Yep.
Hasn't blown me away in the preseason, but he's been very, very solid, and he is an experienced player, so we need him.
Yep.
And Paul Curtis, look, as we know, his great games are amazing, his bad games are bad, but he brings the forward pressure, and I think that looks like he's stepped up with that a lot this year. His game against the Pies, he kicked 4, and yeah, I just think he's too dynamic. We need a match winner in the forward line. And out of all of those guys, I mean, Zerha and Curtis are the match winners. Larky's always going to kick his 3 to 5 goals. You know, you never know where you get from Powell or Stevenson. Dersma, we don't know. We've never seen him. But Zerha and Curtis are those X factors.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
That's who I'd be putting in there.
Did you catch any of the reserves game over the weekend?
I didn't. Well, I couldn't watch any of it. I couldn't go, unfortunately, because I worked. But I did read the match report, and your man Hugh,
he kicked 4 goals.
He kicked 4 goals. So I'll explain where I've got Hugh Greenwood later, but. Do you want to talk about Hugh just for a little bit with his 4 goals? Like, what differences have you got to me again in the forward line?
I've got Greenwood instead of Powell. That's it. Everything else is the same.
Everything else is the same. Okay.
I think that...
So why Greenwood? Let's go into that.
Well, why not? Obviously, I think that's...
Because I agree. Like, Greenwood being a little bit older now, I think is going to play more of a forward line role. In those like reserve games, he rucked and was in the forward line most of the time.
He pinch hits in the ruck. There's a couple of reasons why I've gone with Greenwood other than the obvious. So let me just, bias aside, let me explain.
Hear her out, guys. Hear her out.
I don't have another backup for Sherry in my 23, and I have said on this show before, and I'm starting to warm up to Sherry, and I do really appreciate the preseason that he's had and sort of the form that he has shown so far, particularly in the ruck. But I still don't trust him to play 100% in the ruck and dominate the whole game. While CCJ was deplorable against St Kilda, he still did carry some of the ruck load.
He did.
And so I do think just at the moment until Sherry builds up his fitness, that I just think it is important to have a backup there. We have seen Zerha in the ruck before pinch hitting and he did his ankle, so I wouldn't be having that
Did he?
as an option.
I remember Zerha going
yeah,
in the ruck.
he a few seasons ago.
Oh, was it a few seasons ago?
A few seasons ago, he went and he pinched hit in the ruck and he took a centre bounce and did his ankle. So never again. That is the first thing. The first reason why I would have Greenwood in the side and have him up forward. Secondly, he kicked 4 goals on the weekend.
He deserves his spot.
I feel like you know he was injured. He did his ankle in the preseason, and then I reckon he probably would have played a pracky at least against St Kilda if he wasn't coming off the back of an injury.
Yeah.
So maybe they just wanted to get him match fit. So that's probably the second thing. But the third thing is the same reason why I've got Paul Curtis in my side still. There's enough in there, and Greenwood kicking 4 goals really helps, but there's enough in that forward line to suggest that we will have good goal supply.
Well, I mean, Curtis, Larky, Zerha, Dersma, Stevenson, I think that's their goal scorers.
Even forget Curtis for a second, okay? You've got... I thought Dersma really presented and really showed a lot of promise in that game against St Kilda. Larky is the obvious one. I mean, he's he's a contributor. Stevenson, he also can be a bit, here or there.
Can be up and
down. But then Zerha, we know also, you've got him as your second forward. I think that he's a goal kicker. I mean, that's what he's there for. I personally have put Sheasel in my midfield, so he can also push up and kick a couple of goals. Fisher, if need be, can come in and kick a couple of goals. Curtis and also Greenwood, they've got that defensive side to them. Hugh Greenwood's a ferocious tackler.
Yeah.
And I think one of the keys to our side this year is going to be forward pressure. As we've discussed, I literally just said it 15 minutes ago, it will be a high attacking side,
footy.
so we'll probably be scored against a lot. So I think one of the keys for us to find avenues to goal is to retain the ball in our forward 50.
Yeah, be able to lock it into the 50.
Lock it into the 50 and then give ourselves repeat entries and give ourselves better opportunity to score.
Yeah.
Now, we had that from Comben at the start of last year, and then obviously he injured himself, didn't play again, and now they're bringing him in as a defender. So I think to have a couple of guys in there who can play that defensive role, I think is actually going to be really, really important. So while I could hold my hand, I didn't think Curtis played very well against St Kilda. However, given where our side's at and given how inexperienced our backline is, I think that our midfield and our forward really need to step up and they really need to put on the pressure.
Yeah.
So I think that both Greenwood and Curtis can both offer that. And they're two forwards that probably offer that more so than anybody else currently in contention. So there's my big spiel. That is why I put Hugh Greenwood in the side. Also, you're not going to see a Marnie Cohen side without Hugh Greenwood in there.
Yeah.
So unless he's unavailable.
He's the coach as well.
So
you'd put him on the bench even if his ankle was done, just in case.
For a hype man.
Yeah.
He's a warrior.
Wave the towels.
Anyway, so that's my logic behind it, but I just think that it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's why
I think it makes sense too. And you've sort of... We'll go on to our benches now, and I'll explain this then, but you've made me think I'm going to make a slight change on the fly here to my team.
Are you putting Hugh Greenwood in your team?
Now, well, let's go to bench and sub, and then we can talk about it. So my bench, I've got McKercher.
Yep.
I've got Charlie Lazaro.
Yep.
I've got Eddie Ford, Darcy Tucker, and then I put Greenwood as the sub.
Okay.
Now, we talked about Greenwood as the sub, or why I think he'd be a perfect sub. That's not just bringing on another midfielder, because I don't believe it impacts the game very much. And I think someone who can tackle and score goals or play in the ruck like Greenwood would be a more impactful sub. Looking at my team, I don't really have someone who can go in the ruck other than Jerry. If I was going to pick anyone, I'd say throw Biggie in there, but our defence is going to be under the pump a lot.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to put Greenwood on my bench, and I'm either going to take out Ford or Tucker and put them as the sub.
Okay.
My head tells me to put Ford as the sub because he's been injured.
Yep.
My heart tells me to put Tucker as the sub because as much as everyone says how fit he is and how good he was in that one intra-club game, I don't think he's had... Like, Tucker's such a player to me. Like, I think he's solid enough.
Poor Darcy.
I apologise. I don't think... No, and that's not me saying he's bad. I just think he's kind of like 5 out of 10 every week, 6 out of 10 every week.
So harsh and wrong.
No, did you even notice him much in the St Kilda game?
Did you notice Will Phillips much?
Well, no, but the stats suggest Phillips had a good game, and Phillips wasn't going to make the team unless Simpkin was out. That's why. Would you rather throw Phillips or Tucker in the midfield? Phillips, right? So look,
Tucker's a workhorse, though. I think, and I think you need.
I'm not upset if Tucker's in the team. Am I going to if I'm putting my coach's hat on, I'm putting Eddie Ford on the bench.
No one's going to be offended by your decision.
Yes, they will. Have you seen the internet, Marnie? People hate everything.
You currently have Hugh Greenwood as your sub. I don't think it gets much worse than that.
Well, maybe for one individual.
Who's sitting right next to you?
I'm very scared, so I'm being very careful. Eddie Ford kicked 4 and last game, the first practice game, and then I think he kicked 1 in the second one, but apparently looked very good.
Yeah.
But we have goal scorers. So, all right, I'm putting Ford as the sub, and I'm going to put Greenwood onto the bench because you're right. We need another option in the ruck, and I didn't think of that before. And he brings pressure and he's experienced. So I think that's good. Look at the smile on your face.
Can you just say you're right one more time?
You had a good idea, Marnie, and about time too. So I'm going to reward you for having your idea, and I'm going to follow along with that. No, your analysis was spot on, and you've not that I was against Greenwood playing. I like you, Greenwood. Yeah, Ford's gone to the sub, and Greenwood's going on the bench. So my bench is McKercher, Lazaro, Greenwood, Tucker. And Eddie Ford coming on as the sub. And I think you could maybe sub like a Dersma if they're not having a good first game, a Jaden Stevenson if they're not making an impact. I think they would be the two people. Or like Powell if you want to take off a midfielder because we've got too many and put more of a goal scorer on.
Yep.
So, yeah, Lazaro deserves his spot. He's had a fantastic preseason.
Yep.
Eddie Ford, rising star nom last year, obviously underdone, but looks really good in his games that he's played for the twos.
Yep.
McKercher, just literally because our backline is way too small and attacking if he's starting, but he's going to play a lot off half back.
Yep.
Tucker, apparent good preseason and very solid player. Doesn't get me as randy as a George Wardlaw or anything like that, But, look.
That's not comparing apples with apples.
Well, and, Greenwood deserves it. If I'm putting Ford in for his performances in the twos and Core or Comben for you, I think Greenwood deserves his spot as well.
100% he does.
So show me what's your bench and sub.
So my bench, I've got Charlie Lazaro, Darcy Tucker, Eddie Ford, Will Phillips, and then Powell is my sub. So we kind of have...
We've got a pretty similar team.
And I said that to you. I said that I think that we'd probably have a very
I'm
similar
looking on
team.
here. Do we have any players... I think that we've got the same players. They're just in different
Biggie,
positions.
I don't have Biggie and
you
don't
didn't
have Comben.
That's right. Biggie and Comben. But other than that, I think it's the same.
Oh, wow. That's good from us. We have not spoken about our team before. Nice. We're finally on the same page.
About time. That's awful content. We need to be against each other so people listen, so we argue more.
Well, for those who did listen to me justify Hugh Greenwood's position for 5 minutes, thank you for staying to this point. And clearly it's
you guys don't have to
Josh.
listen to it off the podcast too. But I've got to sit here and Marnie's always talking to Hugh Greenwood when we're not even recording.
We actually talk about Hugh Greenwood all the time.
No, you talk about Hugh Greenwood all the time.
Yeah, and you partake.
Because I have to. We're in the same room.
Yeah, true.
I'm just part of the overwash of that. You know what I mean? I could just hear the conversation.
I just want to say one thing about Hugh Greenwood, and then I'm going to stop.
Okay. One more Hugh Greenwood thing and then we're done.
When I was at Family Day the other week, I went and spoke to Hugh, obviously, and there was just like a swarm of people like around him, like waiting for photos and autographs and stuff. And I just looked at him and I said, I've done this.
You've created a movement.
I've done this. I've created a monster.
Yeah, you have. You have.
And I'm here for it. So thank you to everyone who's jumped on board the Hugh Greenwood train with me. I think my interchange and my sub is pretty self-explanatory. I think the one benefit of...
Who is your sub, sorry?
Tom Powell.
Powell, okay.
And I think that look, Lazaro, Phillips and Powell are actually all quite different players, but they're lumped together as that trio.
Because they're all midfielders.
And they all came in on that same draft.
They all don't really have much to offer if they're not in the midfield as well. I think Powell's probably the most versatile, but Phillips, if he's not in the midfield, and Lazaro, I don't think they're going to do too much.
Powell's the most versatile, but we have players in this side who are also really versatile. So if Powell was to come in, like I'm looking right, I've got Scott on the wing and I've got Sheasel in my midfield. Okay, they're just two examples I'll pick out. Yeah. Right. If Powell was to come in, and say someone in defence was injured or was cooked or whatever, you could chuck one of those guys into defence and then put Powell in the midfield.
Yeah.
Say you wanted to, bring Fisher up forward and then you could kind of shuffle. I think that there's actually, there's
a lot of moving pieces. You can put the puzzle pieces in different spots.
Yeah, and I think this side, while we are missing a lot of key players, I think and we basically have the same side. I think something that I've often criticised the club that we've drafted way too many midfielders, but now looking at it, we've got a lot of midfielders and we do have a lot of pure midfielders, but there are also enough guys in there who do have other elements to their game. They can kind of be thrown around a little bit.
Obviously, we don't have many more, but that's where Taron would have been very helpful. Because if you need to throw him in a forward pocket, he could kick three.
Yeah.
But in the midfield, we saw what he did last year, and he's not here, so it is what it is. But, that's where Powell, I think, is probably the closest thing to a Taron we have. I'm not saying they're close, but if I was going to pick someone who can play on a wing in the midfield or in the forward line like Taron could, I'd probably be picking Powell over Phillips, definitely, and Lazaro from what we saw last year.
And I think now as well, I'm looking at this side, and I don't know how this will look in comparison to the team that we actually fielded against the Giants on the weekend, but I'm really comfortable with where this side is sitting, despite the fact that we are missing quite a few names. And I think that's symbolic of the last few years. We've probably been building quite nice depth. And I mean, the fact that the biggest disagreement or the biggest discussion we've just had is, do you take Ford or Tucker out and then for Greenwood.
Or Biggie and Pink, something like that.
Exactly. And I think all of those, and there's still a bit of work to be done, but I don't look at that side and go, I'm uncomfortable.
I'm looking at some of the names. I've written down some names here that haven't made the team and other players on the list. I haven't put some on there who are just never going to play for us. But, for me, obviously, Coleman Jones isn't there, and do we want to talk about that? I guess we covered it a little bit, but we both don't have CCJ after his preseason. I've got Comben on here, but only because I think he's needs a week, but I would have him in my best 23, no questions.
Yep.
I think, Pink and Biggie is the biggest, one of the biggest discussions. And then, someone like a Greenwood or a Will Phillips or a Tucker, sort of who is that other midfielder, that other player. Other than that, I think it does sort of pick itself. Obviously Simpkin comes straight back into this team and Comben comes straight back in for me. Probably for Phillips or Tucker, I would say. And then for Biggie, I would probably put Comben.
Yep.
Other than that, I think that's kind of our best 23. Cooper Harvey may be stiff to not get a look in. I think he's been good in the preseason and could, if he played, I wouldn't be too unhappy as a sub or something like that. I just think the other guys probably deserve it more.
Yeah.
If he played over a Powell, I'm like, okay, but Powell's probably earned his spot a bit more than Cooper has.
Yeah.
Braden George hasn't played enough. Jackson Archer's injured. McDonald's injured. Who else have we got here? I mean, Pink or Biggie, it is what it is. Comben's injured.
You've got Logue as well.
Yeah, I think
he's
Logue, Comben, and I didn't put him on the list because he's just not going to play for a
while.
long time.
Yeah.
I think Miller Bergman is one that if I saw him in the team, I don't think he will be, but if I saw him in the team, I wouldn't be unhappy. I think he's been better than people give him credit for. I think people are maybe rating him down maybe because Goda's had a much better preseason.
Yep.
But I still think I liked what I saw from Miller Bergman, and if he was in the team, I wouldn't be upset.
Well,
but
I said to you, up until that St Kilda game, I had Bergman ahead of Goda, and then after watching him last weekend, he was fantastic. But think back to round 1 last season, we played West Coast. Both of them played.
Yeah.
They both started.
But then we didn't have Biggie, Dawson, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, of course. So we did have Logue.
Yeah.
And we had Core.
Yeah.
Mackay was injured
Comben wasn't an option down the back at that point.
But yeah, I mean...
Yeah, we've got some options. And I don't... If he's in the team, I'm not... Yeah, true. He's not someone I'm like, oh no, Bergman's playing like it would have been with Flynn Perez or Phoenix Spicer or some players like that getting
Why
games.
Why does Phoenix Spicer keep finding himself on this podcast?
It's probably the coolest name in AFL history ever.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
So he's a good young boy. All right, mum.
Showing my age.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so look, I think that's pretty fair. To recap mine, I've got Goda, Dawson, Biggie, Fisher, Core, Sheasel in the back line. Scott, LDU, Stevens across the centre with Jerry in the ruck, Wardlaw and Phillips in the midfield. Powell, Zerha, Dersma, Stevenson, Larkey, Curtis in the forward line. And on the bench, McKercher, Lazaro. I put Greenwood in there and Tucker and Eddie Ford as the sub.
I've got Dawson. That's Cal Dawson, by the way.
Yes.
Cal Dawson, Core, Goda, Fisher, Comben, McKercher in my back line. Stevens, Wardlaw, Scott in my midfield with Sherry, Rucking, LDU and Sheasel to follow. And then I've got Zerha, Greenwood, Dersma, Stevenson, Larkey, Curtis in my forward line. And then on the bench, I've got Lazaro, Tucker, Ford, Phillips and Powell as my sub.
All right. Well, look, it's very interesting to me that we were so in sync on that, except for Biggie and Comben.
And then Greenwood, which I managed to
twist
your arm a little bit.
You convinced me. If we had another player that could go in the ruck, like say Comben was playing, say Comben does play, I think I would probably then put Greenwood as a sub because Comben could go in the ruck and I wouldn't mind.
I've got Comben in this side too, but I still think that Greenwood is a really good option.
I don't want to make accusations, Marnie, but you're slightly more positive on Greenwood than most people. Now, I like Hugh Greenwood, and I hope he plays a lot this year. I'm just saying there might be a little bit of bias towards
Okay,
you
well,
and
the
Hugh.
4 goals in his game over the weekend will...
No, I'm not saying that
we'll
he doesn't
say
deserve
otherwise.
it.
That's
Okay.
fine. No worries. Don't worry about it.
No more Hugh Greenwood chat.
No worries.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to get the AFL app up on your phone, if possible, and we're going to do a little... Well, actually, let's talk about this quickly because the preview podcast is coming back as well.
The preview podcast is returning.
What I'm going to do this year is I am going to get whatever team we're playing against, I'm going to try and find a fan podcast of them and get one of their members on and we can do a little bit of a preview on the game. So Marnie's here for the main podcast because I have to do it midweek after work. I'll do the preview podcast and we'll get an opposition team's fan podcast on.
We have some great podcasts already in the pipeline, guys.
Correct.
So
and Marnie is
get excited
liaison
for that.
in all of this for me. She's like, she does...
I'm like your manager.
Manager, yeah, absolutely. Which is very terrifying. But she does it. I pay her an experience, which is, thank God. Tell me how you feel about this game then, because we're not going to get your thoughts before the game until now. I won't say too much here because I'm going to do mine on the preview podcast, obviously. But tell me how you're feeling. Tell me our chances. What are you thinking?
I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
I have tipped the Giants to win the flag.
Win the flag?
Yeah, we just spoke about this a few weeks ago.
True.
So the Giants are my tip for the flag, and I obviously rate them really highly, and their demolition job of
the Pies.
Collingwood over the weekend for opening round would back my point up this far, one round into the year. Look, they're obviously a very, very good side. They're a very strong side. And I think that we just have to throw everything we've got at them.
Yeah. We have to go full North Ball and hope it pays off.
We do, I think we probably need to get a little bit physical as well. I just don't think we can be scared.
They've got a big midfield. Josh Kelly's not the biggest guy, but other than that, I mean, there's a lot of bulls in that midfield that, we look, Wardlaw's no slouch, that's for sure. And LDU, look, I think LDU needs to be a little bit more physical with his size personally. I think he's a very classy player and we know what he can do. But, if he can get a bit more like a physical element, I would imagine, and this is just me thinking off the fly here, like a Zerha would be good to throw into the midfield a little bit. Which is
rotate him through the midfield.
No
We've seen
midfield
that before.
minutes at all in the preseason. But this is the perfect game if we are 6 goals down to be able to throw him in and just see what happens.
Well, Greenwood could do that too. Okay, I said no more Hugh Greenwood.
No more Hugh Greenwood.
There's another positive. Big body, big tackler.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that.
I think that with the Giants, we obviously they tore Collingwood apart over the weekend. Look, it is what it is. I don't expect it to be close, but I do expect it to be entertaining, and I do expect us to throw everything that we've got at it, 100%. And it's a learning experience at the end of the day, and
this is what we want to be like in 3 or 4 years' time.
It's way too early to be having that kind of conversation. Obviously, the season hasn't really started for us yet. It's also really like they've already played one game. Like,
are they sore though? Are their knees hurting?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
But I'm trying to put some positive spin on it, Marnie.
No, of course, and we take what positive spin we can get.
Yeah.
Especially with a matchup like this. I just want us to get in there and fight, throw everything we've got. I think it'll be an entertaining game. I just don't know if we'll be able to keep up with them for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Especially because they already do have one game under their belt.
And we've seen in our preseason, like the first quarter against the Pies, we were very lackluster. Then sort of came back, and obviously the second quarter against the Saints, we just fell away completely. Then came back again. So we still haven't strung together 4 quarters of solid football.
I'm also really interested to see, we have no captain, unless McDonald makes a miraculous recovery and he plays round one, which it doesn't look like.
To do a really good job.
Doesn't look that way, but we don't have our captains.
Yeah, that is true.
I do think Larky obviously will step up, and he will be a really good leader in that. Going into that game, we spoke about George Wardlaw last week being the barometer, being the pace setter and the one to bring the tempo.
It's up to guys like Zerha and stuff as well to be like, you're a 7-8 year player now. Like, this is the game where you've got to lead as well.
Well, Zerha in particular, given his physical presence.
Yep. Establish yourself on the game.
100%.
And make a difference. And even if it doesn't come off, I want to see Zerha. He's always going to go in tough and hard, but if he's up in the forward line not getting the ball, I want to see him push up the ground to try and make a difference. Larky pushes up the ground a lot. How many times against the Saints was Larky on half back? Because he had to go up there to see if he could take a mark and get the ball.
Yeah.
But then we're like, well, who do we kick it to now?
Yeah, exactly.
But Zerha needs to do that. I would much rather Larky one-on-one in the square than Cam Zerha, because I think Zerha can make more of a... If the ball hits the ground, he's going to be a lot better than Larky's going to be.
Well, he's come back and he's fit and he's firing.
Yeah. So show us. Get in the guts and make a difference if the game isn't going our way.
I think him and Stevenson, the other one, I think they're both...
He impacts in a different way, though. Like, Steve-O, I gave a lot of credit to last year on his work rate. The amount of times he was down in the back 50.
So he needs to do that. Yeah. Same thing. He's got to do it instead of Larky. I think the two of them, I think both of them need to have big games this weekend.
Yeah, Larky shouldn't be going past halfway for me. Ever.
No, I don't think so either.
So,
so I look, terrified, but I think it's a really...
Give us a prediction.
Look... I I don't want to sit here and say I'd be happy if we get within X amount of goals because, I don't believe in honourable losses and that I think we should be going into every game thinking that we should win it and not accepting anything less than that. But I'll be realistic. I think if we can get within 5 to 6 goals, I think would be a good return and a good start. But, I mean, that's just me. That's just me.
At the end of the day, we're a bottom 4 team and they're a top 4 team. And in 3-4 years' time, we want to be where they are. That's fine.
I don't like to be realistic. I like to be blindly optimistic, as everyone knows. And I think that's how I just don't think that you should go into any game accepting anything other than a win. But for the sake of the discussion and for the sake of being somewhat level-headed.
This is where we differ on the perspectives of the team, though. We all want the same goal. Like, I want North to win a premiership as much as you do, as much as anyone do. But, like, my mindset is always so different in this, where I know, like, 90% we're not beating them. So as long as we can come out, once again, honourable loss is such a gross term, but, like, I want performance. I want to see the game plan that we've been trying to implement executed, and I don't want to get blown out. That's basically it. And this isn't a team we should be messing with right now. Round 2 to me is like the biggest game of our first month because we do have a pretty tough opening month of footy, 6 weeks of footy.
I think in the first 4 games we play 3 preliminary finalists from last year.
Yeah,
that's a pretty rough draw.
But that's you can't let if we come out 1-4, I think that's great. If we've been competitive in the games and we come out 1-4 from the first 4, I'm stoked, and I don't want the players' heads to drop at all. Like, I want them to go in every game going, we're going to win this and we're going to belt these guys. But also, if we don't, be able to compartmentalise what happened and be like, well, the Giants are arguably a premiership contender. And that's not where we are just yet.
Yeah, but on the flip side, and I know it was pre-season, but we beat the reigning premiers like 3 weeks ago in a practice game. Yeah.
No, look, I understand. So, look, I guess we'll give you all of our thoughts and emotions after the game.
Yes, we will. But that's
and get your thoughts and emotions in too with the voice messages. furthernorthpod@gmail.com. Send your voice messages in 10 to 15 seconds. Don't go over it. Okay.
You heard the boss.
Very cross.
You heard the boss.
Okay. Let's recap a couple of the games, and I'll get your tips for next week.
Okay,
and then
I hate tipping, but I'll do it anyway.
This is what we're here for, Marnie.
Okay, making me do things I hate.
Let's chat about the games then. So the first game was Melbourne-Sydney.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
No, I didn't watch
you were away, weren't you?
Yeah, I've been away over the weekend, so I haven't watched any. I didn't watch any football last weekend for opening round. I kept tabs.
This is going to be a great segment then, guys.
Yeah, awesome. No, look, I was hoping that the Swans would win, and they did.
Swans, yeah.
I like them too. I tipped them to finish out of the 8, and I don't know why I did that.
That's wild, yeah.
I
had
silly.
them 6.
Did I have them? I don't even remember, to be honest. I think I had them out of the 8, but
I think you did.
I regret that. I don't know why I thought that.
That's what I said to you at the time. The Swans, I mean, for 3 quarters, it was pretty competitive. The Swans sort of just did what they did at the end of the game. I really like the look of the Swans. I was concerned about how they're going to kick goals. I keep forgetting this guy's name. Number 2 there. He's like a ruckman, but he plays in the forward line a lot. Can you look up number 2 for the Swans' name?
Yep.
Please, because I'm looking like an idiot right now because I'm forgetting his name.
McLean.
McLean.
Hayden McLean.
Yes. Hayden McLean?
Hayden
McLean.
Yeah.
I was going to say Hamish McLean.
Hayden
McLean. I like the look of him, and he does seem... He's like a better CCJ for me, where he does look like a newborn giraffe sometimes, but he does actually...
A better CCJ. What a compliment.
But he does actually execute sometimes. So, yeah, I'm not as bullish on their forward line after watching that game as maybe I was before. I'm very bullish on the D's ones. I'm very I don't know how the D's are kicking goals. But, I think the Swans could arguably be... They were very impressive to me, and I think they could push for a top 4. I mean, Grundy looks like an unreal signing, and it's interesting that the Grundy-Gawn matchup,
really well.
and he definitely beat Gawn on the night. The D's were never going to get rid of Max Gawn. He'll play there till he retires. But, very interesting that they've... And look, the footy media, everyone knows I hate them. So it's like the whole is trading Grundy to a premiership contender, a bad move from the D's. I get yes, but they also can't. They can't just say, hey, you're just going to North. You know what I mean?
No, and
it's got to be the players' input too.
Just one thing about the Swans kicking goals, and I think this is, I'll swing it back to North. Buddy Franklin obviously retired at the end of last season.
Sam Reid as well.
But Buddy's the focal point of that forward line, right?
Sure. So what do you mean? Sam Reid was the guy. Buddy was his backup.
Yeah, radio. You keep
Righto, mate.
telling yourself that. So you remove Buddy out of that forward line and the fixation on Buddy is elevated, and it kind of allows other players to step up and to kind of move in his space. Todd Goldstein obviously left North at the end of last season, and I, said, oh, this is, what are we going to do with Sherry being our number one ruckman?
Yeah.
But maybe having Goldie gone and having sort of his presence removed, even when in round one last year when Sherry was picked over Goldie, I mean, Goldie obviously didn't like that. Maybe having that space to move now and to kind of be his own player will allow Sherry to come into his own and allow Sherry to kind of be his own player and fill that ruck position.
And the helmet gives him magical powers.
We love Helmet Sherry around here.
Sherry.
Anyway, so that's kind of my thinking in terms of where the Swans going to score goals. I mean, maybe that's a similar thing. Yeah. I also just love Errol Goulding.
He's a good player.
Oh, my God. He's so good. I love watching him play. So, I regret keeping the Swans out of the top 8.
Too late to change the prediction.
It is too late to change the prediction, but that's
Carlton, Brisbane, game of the round,
what
obviously.
What a phenomenal game.
I
did catch glimpses of this, by the way.
I hate that Carlton won. I like seeing the Carlton fans get upset because they're too arrogant and they need to be brought down a peg. Unfortunately, this game has made the lid very ajar, and it's very early on. But the Carlton fans aren't smart enough to understand that. They just go nuts all the time. So, to come back from 46 points or something
like that,
40-something points down, is wild.
Hats
Harry
off
Mackay kicking the winning goal as well. I mean, that's a massive moment, and good on him for that. A crazy game of football. Yuck that Carlton won. Wanted the Lions to win that, but hey, it was a good game of footy.
I am going to go against the grain here. I love the Carlton movement.
I like the Carlton movement, but it's the only part I don't agree with, because I like that they've been bad for probably 25 years and they got good, and then they're like, "Oh my God, we're good. Let's go nuts." And I'm all for that. When we're pushing for finals, Marnie, I'm going to be unbearably obnoxious.
Be the most insufferable. I'm insufferable when we're like, we've won 3 games and we're like not on the bottom of the ladder. We're like 16th. So
we own WA. We won't talk about the West Coast game though, but the part for me when I genuinely sort of jumped off that train was, if I say we're going to win the premiership, I'm doing it ironically. If we're pushing for top 8 or something like that. I'm a very realistic guy, and I know you probably disagree with that. But they genuinely thought they were going to win it. And that's the part for me where I'm like, you've got so much more to prove, and you haven't got the reps in the game to be able to talk like that yet. You've got to prove it, and they didn't.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying Carlton fans have gone into this season saying they're going to win the premiership?
Last season.
Okay,
and this season as well. Both seasons combined. Like, I was on board for the Carlton Nuffy fans going mental because they're good again until them saying they're going to win the premiership became they actually think that, not we're going to win the premiership sort of ironically or tongue in cheek. Why not? Because I just don't think they're ever going to. And I have a realistic mindset. And, some people think I'm pessimistic. I don't agree. I think it's just realism. I don't have the blind optimism.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I know you do because you're like that, but I'm not like that. Mate.
I think Carlton's got a really good list. And they've
constantly underperformed.
Yeah, but at some point, who cares that they've underperformed?
This is like our ladder prediction. You remember all the teams, a lot of teams that we differed on you were putting them higher because of potential, but I was putting them lower because they have potential but haven't done it yet. And that's the difference where we differ on this topic. Regardless
halfway through 2017, when there was all that talk started around Dusty coming to North, and I sat there, right? Throwback, right? Yeah. Sorry to jump to this, but this is related.
This is not a path I thought we were going down.
It's related.
I'm here for it.
So I was sort of like, why would Dusty not? Why would he stay at Richmond? Like, why wouldn't he come to North? Richmond have done nothing up until this point. They had lost 3 elimination finals in a row. And then in 2016, they abominated. And so obviously 2017, they had a really, really strong start to the year. And by midway through the year, we didn't have a good 2017, as I'm sure everyone remembers. But Richmond up until that point had done nothing. And they went on, they won the flag, and Dusty re-signed in that, the week leading into the finals, and it was a whole big thing, right? At some point, the penny's going to drop, and at some point, they're going to be premiership contenders, whether the AFL fan society likes it or not. It's going to happen. They are bubbling away really, really nicely. And it comes back to a point I made, again, when we did our ladder prediction for the year. GWS and Collingwood have this self-belief that I think you need to win a premiership. I think that you genuinely have to believe that you can do it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And there's a difference between saying, yeah, I think it's going to happen and genuinely believing. And I think Carlton...
No, it's not the players. I'm strictly talking about fans, and I don't agree. Not that I don't agree. I just don't. The players need to have that mindset. The fans don't have to. Me having that mindset won't help the team at all.
Do I think it's annoying? Yeah, I do think it's annoying, but I also think it's great because I hope one day I'll be able to be like that with North, and I hope that I'll be annoyingly, annoying in that way, and genuinely think that I would love to be in a position where I think North's genuinely going to win the premiership.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're hating on something that's positive.
No, I just don't have that output to other teams. Like for my team, yeah, I'm a fan and I'm biased. But like
of course.
When other teams do it, it gets a bit annoying, and I never thought they were going to win the premiership. So when they were legitimately thinking they were going to win the premiership, I'm like, you're not. And I just was like,
I think it's great. I think it was a great game of football. I obviously don't think it takes anything away from the Lions. I think they obviously played really well, but the way Carl were able to claw their way back into it and end up taking the 4 points home. Carlton had not beaten Brisbane at the Gabba for over 10 years.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
The last time they won there was 2013. So look, good on them. I think it was an excellent game of footy. Obviously, match of the round. And I love the Carlton phenomenon that it is, for lack of a better word. So yeah, I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Wow, difference of opinion. Oh God, I'm so upset. Gold Coast.
Yeah,
Richmond.
Gold Coast beat Richmond.
I hate that. Look, I'm negative. We all know. I'm not on the Gold. The Gold Coast are yuck. I want them to be bad. I hate that the AFL's paying for half a Dimmer's salary, and they're unproven. So I tipped Richmond in this one. I got it wrong, absolutely. And this is real. This is not me being biased against the Gold Coast because I don't like them. Richmond was so poor.
Richmond look bottom two, honestly.
Awful.
They actually...
I was watching that going, we beat these guys by 10 goals when we played them.
They didn't look good.
They looked atrocious. I think Richmond made the Gold Coast look incredibly good. Are the Gold Coast going to be good? Maybe in some games, but I still stick that I think they'll be like 13th, 14th. Richmond were pathetic.
We could finish higher than them.
I actually think we could now. After watching them play. I haven't seen Richmond play like that since 2008 or something like that.
Yeah, wow.
It was an abomination. I watched the whole game and it was...
Why?
I don't know.
You're brave.
Clearly, I have nothing better to do with my life. Yeah, they were literally pathetic. It's such a coarse word and a harsh word, but there's no other word to sum up how they played. They were woeful and they looked like us under David Noble.
Yeah, wow, okay.
So, look, I think we could absolutely finish above the Tigers this year if they keep playing like that. You want me to be positive, Marnie? Here's positive!
Whoa.
You don't want to see that side come out.
That was a bit scary.
It was a bit scary. I scared myself. Yeah, look, they're shocking and I love it because I'm over Richmond. Good run, take your premierships and sail into the sunset, but they're going to be bad this year. And I can laugh at it because our team's been bad and it's funny when other people are bad and we're not as bad.
Okay, we'll leave that one at that. We've spoken about Collingwood and the Giants a little bit earlier.
Credit to Matt Rowell too, 20 clearances, which is second most in AFL history.
Monster.
And I was very hot on Matt Rowell at the start of last year, especially when he was eating grass. And
I remember that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Weird
hippie sort of stuff going on. Yeah. Anyway, I think he's a little bit underrated. I know sometimes he doesn't impact the contests a little bit, like enough in games, or maybe he can go missing a little bit.
Yeah.
But I rate Matt Rowell very, very highly. So anyway, credit to Matt Rowell. Good game. Yeah, I think. Oh, can I give a shout out to Aaron Cadman as well for the Giants? I think
do what you want.
I think he looked pretty good in that Giants game, and I forgot he existed last year and as a number one pick. And I'm happy for him that he didn't play amazing, but he showed that he's going to be an AFL footballer. So
how, just going on to the Giants game and Collingwood, how good was the petting zoo?
Oh.
The banter.
Well, do you want to talk about the Mason Cox thing?
The marketing and the banter from the Giants.
It's good social media. I hope North gets to a spot where we can do that.
Yeah,
so
but
we need to get a bit more respect from the opposition, from the rest of the league.
But it's not about respect. The Giants have kind of build their support and their likability by...
Well, they don't have 60-year-old fans, do they?
No,
So they
exactly.
need to
And they don't have an abundance of fans, so they just kind of pinpoint at all their opposition players.
Find your target audience.
Collingwood in particular.
Yeah,
like
it's fun.
You know, it's so fun. It's so funny. So yeah, that petting zoo was outstanding pre-game. And then the Mason Cox, you know, running into their warm-up and, you know, jumping on Shane Mumford. What do you... The AFL's issue to please explain. What do you think of that?
The AFL is soft as balls, as we've seen from the Clarkson stuff and all that sort of thing. It's soft. The media are a bunch of wimps and they're literally a bunch of soy boys looking for a story and having a cry. Who cares?
Do you
Who
think...
cares?
Okay, hold on. Here's another one.
Okay.
Do you think... Because I agree with you, but because it's a staff member and not an opposition player...
Okay, yeah, I can see it. He was also a player, a very recent player as well.
Yeah, but he's not now.
Yeah.
He's a coach.
I don't personally care. Like, he's a big fella. If he was the size of a jockey and he went and pushed him over, then it's probably not on. But a couple of 200-centimetre kegs going at each other... Mumford, he's not old as well. Like, say, like, Monkhorst is our guy, right? So if you go up to Big Monkey and he's in his 50s or something, and you sort of push him a little bit, it's kind of not okay. But watch Shane Mumford, still in his 30s and played last year, did he? Or the year before, whenever it was? Recently, anyway.
Recently.
I don't have a problem with it personally. I don't think it instantly changes when it's a staff member. If he was old or smaller and slight, I think it's not cool. Pick on someone your own size sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it. They played against each other, so it is what it is.
I think being a staff member is probably where the please explain has come from.
I don't disagree with the please explain, but I want players to have a personality, and the media doesn't let them, and then the media cries when they don't have a personality.
I agree with that.
You know 100%. What I mean?
Yeah. I just think it's going to be funny to see
if
Mason Cox trying to explain it.
Yes. Well,
that's what I'm looking forward to.
Apparently he's going to talk about it on his podcast when he released it. So I might even tune in for the first time to that podcast. I've seen clips, but I've never listened to one.
I'm not going to listen, so you just fill me in after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Look at the most entertaining sports in the world, like boxing and the UFC and stuff. Players toe the line and they step over it. But if you want actual entertainment and if you want rivalry to be back and you want storylines in games, then you've got to let people step over the line accidentally sometimes. You can't crucify them. If they toe the line and we're all like, oh my God, this is so exciting, and then they step over, you go, bad. I don't think you can have that attitude towards it. So
I think the Giants are the biggest winners out of this whole Mason Cox
because Mason
saga.
Cox isn't also an amazing player.
Well, he was terrible on the weekend, which makes it even funnier.
And that's why that I can't remember the player's name, but he went on the Sunday Footy Show and said...
Brett Daniels,
yeah, you've got to back it up. And I think that's 100% true, and I love this rivalry.
But I think the Giants, not only did they win the game, I think on field, obviously they're really, really strong. They're a strong side on field, but I think off field, you know, they don't have... Yeah, okay, they've got the rivalry with the Swans being the two teams in New South Wales, and then they've kind of got this weird rivalry with the Bulldogs on the back of the 2016 preliminary final. But they don't really have that same rivalry.
No, they need to make a rival, and you may as well make it the biggest club in the country.
So I think it's great.
I agree. Rivalry is needed in sports. This is why we need to be mean, and we need to not be so soft all the time when people say words and, oh, that was a bit mean, or that. Let people toe the line. If they step over it accidentally, it's all just creating rivalry. Is everyone going to tune in to the next GWS Collingwood game? Absolutely.
100%. And I think that the game is becoming less... it's obviously football is still at its core, but it's becoming more of a business.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree.
Than it is just a sport nowadays. So
I hope
think they've got to
North
harness
Melbourne
that and run
Hawthorn
with it.
With the Clarkson thing, that needs to be talked up. That needs to be prime time just because Clarkson's going to want to demolish that pack of wimps. You know what I mean? And that's what we need back. And, you know, the media and soccer mums and stuff, we go, oh, that's mean. Why don't my 7-year-old's going to hear that and do so? No, they're not. Not everything has to be tailored for children and family friendly. The people who pay the memberships, the people who go to the games, pay the most money, make podcasts about it. We're all 20s, 30s, 40s, and we love rivalry, and we're mature enough to know when things aren't okay, but just let people go at each other and actually form rivalries. Like, Hawthorn Geelong, dead now, obviously, but that rivalry for 10 years was unbelievable. I'd tune into every game. Yeah. Like Collingwood and GWS now I'm going to tune into. Carlton Collingwood for years was dead.
Yeah.
Like Hawthorn Essendon, dead.
Yeah.
All these rivalries are dead now. Like, do we really have a rival, like a proper rival that people tune in for? No, we don't.
We don't.
As fans, we do, and we know the history and that sort of stuff. But at some point, history kind of like floats away a bit, and you need to keep creating history.
Yeah.
So it's like we need actual rivals. Collingwood Carlton, I think Collingwood being rivals with Essendon just because of an Anzac Day game, bullshit to me.
Yeah, but
I don't
those
agree.
games are always excellent.
They're good games,
Yeah.
but I don't think they hate each other because of this game. Collingwood Carlton has history, and because they're both good now, big game.
Yeah.
Collingwood GWS, because of what GWS have formed, big game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're probably the only real two now that I look at, like what Hawthorn and Geelong used to be, that I go, that's going to be a grudge match. Do you have any others in the league you think are really, like, realistically spicy? Because I don't
Yeah, the only other two, and I mean these are the obvious ones, is the Showdown and then the Derby.
That's true. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of the state
Port
teams.
and I think the Port.
Good
Port
call.
Adelaide game and then the Fremantle and West Coast game.
I don't class Gold Coast Brisbane in that.
No, and I don't classify the Sydney.
Swans and Git.
No, but those two teams, they genuinely hate each other.
Yeah, correct.
So I think that's
that's
definitely a rivalry. Or each of those are definitely rivalries in their own way. But they're the only other ones I would say probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we cover all the games? I think we talked about all of them.
Sure did.
Fantastic. Let's get next week's games up, Marnie. I'm going to get you to tip them, and then we're going to leave and go and eat some dinner.
Okay, cool.
Because I'm hungry. I'm getting hangry. I got so hangry yesterday when I went to get a burger. I went to Leonard's House of Love down in South Yarra.
Their mac and cheese is the best you'll ever have.
I didn't try the mac and cheese. We just got the burgers. We got the chicken bites and the poutine fries.
Okay, next time you go, you have to get the mac and cheese. It is literally the best mac and cheese you'll ever have.
I
heard it here.
No one cares about this. We're deep in the podcast. So if you're still listening, I think people care about this because you're the true fans. You know what I mean? But I've got a friend called Aaron Fernando who's actually likes the podcast, even though he's a Hawthorn fan. I won't hold it against him, but I hate Hawthorn.
Hi, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. We have a tier list of burger. I can actually show you on the laptop right now.
Like, people really don't care about
No,
this.
people don't.
Anyway.
I'm going to be super quick, guys. 30 seconds, and we're going straight to the last football thing. I have a list ranking the independent burger joints around Melbourne. We got a couple of chains like Betty's and stuff like that.
Is this in order, or is this in order of you trying them?
This is in order of the best to the worst. So College Dropout Burger in Ivanhoe is the best burger and burger shop experience I've ever had.
Okay.
We rank chicken burger, beef burger, chips, drinks, vibe, and price. And they're phenomenal.
Interesting.
Yeah, Leonard's House of Love is down here. Chicken burger was okay. The beef burger was probably the second best beef burger I've ever had.
Okay.
It's a whole thing. If you guys want the list, let me know because
I can do a bonus episode.
We'll do an episode that will get like 200 listens. But
you can get Aaron on the show.
I've got a whole list of burger joints that are fantastic, and we go around as friends.
If anyone needs recommendations, just hit Josh
if you
up.
guys need burger joint recommendations and have ones for me that you think are good, let me know. Anyway, back to football. I'm going to take your phone and read the games out for you, Marnie, and you're going to rank them.
Okay.
Not rank them. I'm such a internet streamer dude now, aren't I? I'm saying ranked and all these weird words. Okay, Thursday night, the real start of the AFL season.
Yes.
Controversial. I like how. Do you reckon the AFL has been sliding some coin to the media's way just to like talk up how good it was and all that sort of stuff the whole time? Because look, I don't think it was a bad opening round, and I watched basically every game and enjoyed it. But geez, the subtle flirting with the opposition states of like, oh, such a good spectacle. It's the AFL, not the VFL. Like, give it a rest. I care about the other states and the teams and the rivalries, and it is absolutely the AFL, but Victoria is the home of this game, and I think it was maybe just a little bit too gushing for the other opposite state. But I guess that was part of the weekend as well.
I don't know. It's like all games did sell out, and there was one epic contest, two other very good games, and then obviously the Suns.
No, it was a good round of footy. It was
Tigers.
more just like the commentary around it, I think, was maybe gushing a little bit too much. But I also understand why it was like that.
I think people are so desperate for footy to be back that if your team now, I didn't watch. I just said I didn't watch any of the games over the weekend, but I was away, so a bit different being the long weekend in Melbourne. Over
You're a soccer
this
girl
weekend,
now.
I'm a soccer girl now. But you know, for
Still
most,
blue and white, so it's okay.
For most people, if they were around this weekend and their team wasn't playing, they probably would have caught the footy at some point.
Yeah.
Also, it was like a heat wave in Melbourne. So what else you could do? Sit under your air
conditioning. It would have been gross games, actually. Now, that's a good point.
So you know what I mean? It's kind of like of course it was going to be a success because footy nuffies are hungry to watch any kind of football.
True.
3 of the 4 games were very entertaining spectacles. And of course they were going to sell out because they were all played, in venues.
And they handpicked the games too to be rivalries, which was fantastic, which they should do more of.
So of course, of course it was going to be a success.
Yeah.
They set it up for success. There's no way it could have been a fact. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know they sold out. There was a lot of seats at that Gold Coast game that were free though. Like,
yeah, well.
look.
How many seats did the AFL buy?
Well, that's kind of the thing. I think, look, they were all selling. I know they have to. It's like the NRL pretending that the Vegas thing was really successful when like 60,000 people in America tuned in to watch it, which is pathetic.
Yeah.
And the stadiums are so full, and then you see people with TikToks and all the top row, kind of like a North Melbourne game, all the top row doesn't have many people.
Yeah.
There, that sort of, and they push them all down. So it's like, look, just a little bit of spin by the media on it, I think, but I did like the spectacle of it. It was just a lot of gushing about.
And obviously, we're going to sit here and say a bit sucky because North wasn't
involved.
Because
we didn't get the footy buzz in Melbourne. But hey, I guess it is what it is. I heard someone theorise instead of doing that in the future, if that comes up to do, split the round in half and have some in Melbourne and have those same 4 games on, but then still do 2 games in Melbourne and then play the other half of the teams next week and then just keep going on with that. I think that would be better so Melbourne gets something. I don't think it's fair to take it off Melbourne. I don't think it should only be Melbourne, but I don't think it's fair to take the whole thing away from Melbourne when you could have still played a couple of games.
It's actually not fair to South Australia and WA. More so than Melbourne because South Australia and WA are the 2 biggest football states outside.
And I know why they're doing it because they're encroaching on NRL territory.
Market.
Yeah.
But like, imagine sitting here, you're in South Australia or Western Australia, and they are outside of Victoria, the biggest footy states in the country, and they've
give
just
a game
been
to Tassie,
snubbed.
guys. Come on. I know no one cares about that, but Tassie's a diehard footy state too. And if Tassie ever, and they won't, but they ever get a second team, that's going to be say you get a Launceston and a Hobart team, and maybe I've got bias here, but realistically, that will be just as spicy a derby as the Adelaide and the Perth one because Tassie's a footy mad state. There's no other sports they play. They don't have an A-League team. They've got a basketball team now, and that sells out most games. But I don't know. It's an incredibly passionate football state. Then if we want to spread the game around the country, play the opening round, 1 in every state.
This will happen again next year simply because the AFL set it up so that it couldn't fail. Yeah. And that's all I have to say about that.
Anyway, let's move on now.
Okay.
Let's move on. We said to the guys we'd give them the tips, and we haven't given them the tips.
Let's give them the tips then.
All right, just the tip. So what am I doing, Marnie?
Round 1, Carlton versus Richmond, Thursday night. Carlton will obviously win that.
Yeah. I am not tipping just yet.
Okay.
Because I want to save mine for the preview podcast.
Okay.
Carlton Richmond. Carlton win.
Yep.
How many points?
Oh, at least
it could
10
be
goals.
100. Yeah, it could be 100.
At
Richmond
least 10
are awful.
goals.
Collingwood Sydney. That's a good game.
Where's that being played?
It is getting played at the MCG.
Oh, Collingwood will win it. They'll bounce back.
Okay.
They didn't look great over the weekend, but at home, it's their, this is their first game at home in front of their adoring
Imagine
fans.
if the Pies are 0-2.
Oh God! On the back of,
Fantastic.
obviously that's their first game in Melbourne since winning the flag. Sorry, I've just dropped your.
You can leave it. It's fine.
Okay, cool. I will.
It is deep. This is deep podcasting stuff. When we get after an hour on the podcast, the real OGs hang around and it can just be a lot more rogue. It's like in the YouTube video, after 10 minutes, you can start swearing because of the ad monetization and stuff
Hi,
like
if anyone
that.
is still listening or watch me watching YouTube or try and pick
Thanks,
up
guys.
Josh's
It's getting sweaty in here too.
SD card. Yeah,
Don't worry about it. Essendon Hawthorn at the G.
Ooh, Essendon.
Okay.
I don't want either of them to win, but Essendon.
The game gets washed out, never played again.
Nice.
Well, we've already gone Giants North. Cats Saints at GMHBA.
The Cats. I don't mind the Saints though. If this was being played at Etihad or the MCG, I'd actually tip St Kilda.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't mind that. Geelong though for me.
Suns Crows. Ugh, gross. What a yuck game.
The Crows.
Okay. Suns are favourites for that one too.
Yeah, but are they hosting?
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense. I love Adelaide. The
Interesting.
place and the football team. So no, I'll go the Crows.
You think Wayne Carey was better at the Crows, do you?
How have you jumped to that conclusion from
this
my
is
statement?
rogue podcasting, Marnie. This is what
you
happens
putting
after.
words in my mouth again.
Sorry. Melbourne Bulldogs
Ooh.
at the G. I'm going to this game, actually.
Maybe the D's.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be a good game.
I don't know, actually.
Okay.
Because I'm expecting the Bulldogs to have a big year.
I need a tip. I need you to lock one in.
I'll go the D's. I think they'll bounce back too.
Port Adelaide and West Coast.
Port.
Yuck, what a gross game.
Port.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I'm tipping Port that game, guys. Dockers, Lions. Over in Perth.
Lions.
Bounce back. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what an enthralling podcast.
Thanks to everyone who's still here. We've gone off topic quite a bit.
That
a few
was
tangents.
That was a rogue one, but I think
we
it was.
made it.
I think it was all good chat. To be honest, I don't think there was any waffle.
There's always a good chat here at Further North Pod.
That is true. Okay, wrap it up. Final words, Marnie.
Follow us on socials if you don't already, at Further North Pod on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. And also, we want to hear from you guys after our first game of the season against the Giants. Send us a voice memo. Please, nothing longer than about 20 seconds.
10 to 15 seconds.
20 if you've got something good to say.
That's pushing it.
furthernorthpod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you guys.
This is going to be a thing after every game this year. So every game, even if you don't get yours on, the first week, send them in every week because you never know.
Further North Hotline. We're here for it. And if you have any burger recommendations for Josh, feel free to dial in with those too.
Yeah, there's another little tidbit about my life. I've got a lot of little things about my life that podcasters don't know. So maybe as we become closer, I can share more
Slowly and surely, you're letting them into your private life.
Wowee. Well, I have no friends, so I need as many as I can get. I have nothing to say then because you covered it all. The preview podcast is back, which is very exciting. I'm going to try and get those out Friday mornings. You guys loved last year the live reactions to the team dropping. After work on Thursdays, I finish at 8. I come home. I don't look at the team until I get home. I finish at 8. I got to get up at 7:30 the next morning, and I get all the podcasts out. It's a big effort, guys. Give me credit. You guys loved the live reactions last year, so they're coming back.
We love the live reactions.
What did you think of them as a listener?
I just want more this year. I want them to be stepped up in rogueness. You've had a year to test the waters, see what works, what doesn't work.
You want more like clickbait reactions from me.
But some straddle the line between clickbait and authenticity.
Yeah, they'll all be. Yeah, I'm a pretty real bloke. I'm not going to give opinions and reactions that are. There's nothing worse than scrolling on social media and seeing guys go, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" Or like when someone tries some food and they start slapping the table, I'm like, "Grow up," you know what I mean? Like no one actually does.
None of that around here.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we're waffling.
We're
we said no waffle, and the waffle is now here. Yeah, all that stuff's coming back. I did like that people last year would message me and be like, I saw Kane Turner was picked this week, and I knew you were going to be angry, and I tuned into the pod just to hear your reaction, which was actually really cool because that's what I wanted to do with it. So that's coming back. Other than that, I need to go and eat some food. Marnie needs to go home, and you will hear from me hopefully on Friday, and Marnie will be back to review all of the massive win we're going to get against the Giants.
100%. Can't wait. See you then.
Thank you for listening, everybody. See you later in life.
See you then.